Okay, now can. Okay, so we stopped here, okay. Okay, can you see it? Okay, can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, good, all right. So I'm going to go quite fast today because there are several theories that we're going to discuss, okay? But these theories, okay, is just going, today is really just about introducing you, okay, to these different types of theories, okay? We're not going to go into details, okay? It's just to expose you to different types of theories that you can use later on in your research work. Okay, so these are just examples, okay, out of the many other theories that are available in social science, especially in media and communication research. Okay, so we've discussed previously the more popular ones, the main ones. We've talked about agenda setting, we talk about news production, and what we call it, spiral of silence. Okay, so today we're going to talk about another theory. It's called media intrusion theory. Okay, what is this? So this is another theory that tries to explain, okay, how the media, okay, affects, okay, society, okay, through its content, through its production, okay. So media intrusion theory is mostly used when you are studying the relationship between media and politics, okay. So this theory says, okay, that media have intruded, okay, into and taken over politics to the degree that politics have become subverted. What does this mean? Okay, it means here, okay, that politicians, okay, when they are doing their campaign or during elections, they depend so much on the media that today politicians are making media as the most important component in their campaign. Okay, in the sense that they depend so much on the media, okay, that they have compromised other components such as, for example, interaction with the public. Okay, so media intrusion theory says, okay, that media has basically undermined or reduced social capital. What is social capital? Social capital, you know what's capital or not, right? When you want to do business, for example, okay, you need capital. Okay, you need the money to start your business. Okay, so it is sometimes, okay, capital is not just money. It could be resources, okay, it could be the, what we call it, infrastructures that you have. Okay, so anyone with good social capital have better potential to be successful. So here in the sense of politics, okay, social capital means the influence potential leaders develop as a result of membership and participation in social groups. Okay, now what does this mean? Okay, what is the relationship? Okay, traditionally, okay, for a politician or a leader to be elected, okay, or to become successful, they have to have good relationship with the public, with the grassroots. Okay, for example, during election, the politicians must go into the villages, okay, meet the people, convince the people, okay, to elect him, to tell the people why he is the best candidate. Okay, and then politicians also must work with community groups, you know. That means, okay, to become a leader, he must have very strong social capital. That means he has a strong relationship, okay, commitment with the people, okay, with the community groups. Okay, so this is specifically in terms of politics. Okay, so it means that for politicians to become successful, he must have the trust and the link with the people. That is social capital. Okay, I can give you another example of a social capital. Okay, for example, this has nothing to do with politics. Okay, it may be in terms in your own life. Okay, when you want to go out and find work, right, you may have, okay, a very good academic background. Okay, you may have a 3.9 CGPA, you've got the skills, but you do not have the social capital. What do we mean if you do not have a social capital? It means that when you go to the interview, for example, okay, there is you and then there is another candidate, okay, who may not be academically as qualified as you, but he knows a lot of people in that company, for example. okay, or he has friends who are working in that company. And those friends working in that company, okay, can help give good words about him. When he has link with all these other people, it is said that he has social capital. Can you follow what I mean by the word social capital? The advantage you get from having good relationship with other people.
Madam,
Yes.
similar to cable lah kan? Cable.
Yes, cable also lah, more
Okay.
negative words. Okay, like for example, you got 10 Cs for your SPM. Okay, cannot go into public university. But luckily for you, your uncle is working at the Ministry of Higher Education. And he got links. Okay, of course you can say that's illegal lah, very unethical, but it could also mean social capital. It is also who you know. Okay, and I'm sure you know that this is a very important aspect in everyday life. Later on, that's why you have an application like LinkedIn. Alright, many of you probably have already LinkedIn account. Why is it important to have a LinkedIn account? So you can get linked, you can get support from other people. Can you follow? So it's the same thing with politicians. They need to know people, okay? They need to have good relationships with those around them. But today, okay, through this theory, it says, okay, most politicians no longer focus on building this social capital. Why? Because they depend on the media. For example, Syed Saddiq, okay? Maybe he became very popular and have 2 million people following him on Instagram, okay? And because he is so popular on Instagram, because he can share whatever he does online, he no longer goes down to the grassroots. Maybe he doesn't go to the, what we call it, to the kampong, to the villages to meet people. Why? Because he is already dependent on the media. Can you follow? On the other hand, maybe there's a politician or there is a leader who's really working with the people, try to contribute to the society. But he or she does not know how to use the social media, or he does not have an Instagram account. So people cannot see what he is doing. And because the role of the media, it is the politician who has better media support, okay, becomes more popular and more successful. Can you understand? Very simple, the relationship, the logic of this theory. Why is it called media intrusion? Because media has disturbed, okay, or abrupt, okay, change the relationship between leaders, politicians, and the people. Can you follow? Okay. So I give you this example, all right? So all of you, okay, but this is an old example, 2012. Okay. So you have Mr. Barack Obama. Okay, all of you know Mr. Barack Obama, right? Okay, but do you know who's Mitt Romney? You don't know. Have you heard of Mitt Romney?
No,
Yes,
never,
he was going against him.
Okay, most people do not know. Okay, Ahmad knows. Okay, because maybe he's interested in politics. But people who are not interested in politics, okay, they will still know Barack Obama. Why? Because Barack Obama has the best, okay, some people consider him the best politicians on social media. He has a very good command of the social media and the internet. Okay, so in 2012, when both of them, okay, were fighting one another to be the Republican candidates, okay, so you see Obama has 30.7 million friends on Facebook and Mitt Romney only has 8 million. Okay, and on Twitter, okay, Barack Obama has 21 million. Okay, this guy only has 1.3 million. Okay, so it goes on with YouTube, okay, and then Instagram, okay. So here you can see that Barack here, Mr. Obama, is more popular, okay, and more, what we call it, has a more effective media presence, okay. And because of this, okay, he is more popular, he is more known. Can you understand what I'm saying? Okay. I'm not sure how good he is, okay, with the grassroots, that probably, okay, this is just an example, that probably maybe Mr. Romney, okay, has no time to go online because he's so busy working, okay, he's so busy helping other people. Okay, but because he does not have the time or the expertise to use the media effectively, okay, he has become the less prominent candidate. So the media, okay, this is where media intrudes, okay, that media became the most important component in political life. Can you follow? So this is just the logic of this theory, right? So here, I'm not going to discuss all of the strengths and weaknesses, okay? You can read them on your own, okay? But what is important, you are familiar with what we term as media intrusion theory. If later on you think about trying to study, okay, political communication, or you want to do a research on politics, then you can try to use this theory, okay? But first, you must consider the strengths and weaknesses, okay? And then there's another theory called information. Okay, we've already discussed this theory actually, okay, when we talked about post-positivism. Okay, so here we're going to just go through again, all right? Because why this theory is very successful, okay, because it is also used not only in media research, but in also marketing research, advertising research. Okay, you remember information or innovation diffusion theory? So this theory states, okay, that any information or any new innovation will not be accepted directly by the public. That means it's not a direct relationship, okay? There will always be, okay, some kind of levels. Okay, there will be the opinion leaders and the early adopters, okay? So here, okay, this theory tried to explain how innovations are introduced and adopted by various communities. Okay, so it identifies important consistencies in previous research findings on a specific issue. Okay, and systematically integrates them into a fuller understanding. Okay, so here, okay, what does it mean, meta-analysis? Okay, because this theory, because it is very systematic, we've discussed this before, because this is a post-positivist theory, all right, okay, it offers detailed explanation into how people adopt something, adopt new technology, for example, okay. So according to this theory, there will always be a group that we call as early adopters, okay. These are the group of people, okay, who always adopt innovation early, okay. Like for example, a new phone, okay, or a new application, okay. When it is first introduced, okay, when they first introduce TikTok, not everyone will be on TikTok, okay. Who would be the first one to adopt? Usually when it comes to entertainment-based application, it will be the teenagers, okay. So in this sense, the teenagers are the early adopters of TikTok, okay. But after they adopt, usually other people will follow. Okay, so nowadays you will see mothers, okay, aunties, grandmothers, everybody's on TikTok. Okay, so those group of people, we call them, all right, later laggards, or we call them, early adopters. Yes, okay, late laggards or late adopters. Okay, so this is important, all right, because according to this theory, there are different type of levels. Okay, now TikTok or a new phone or a new technology. Okay, first, most people become aware through information from mass media. Okay, you've seen it somewhere, a TikTok video, a funny TikTok video. Okay, but although you've seen it, it does not necessarily mean you will adopt it straight away. It is usually adopted first by a very small group of early adopters. Okay? So early adopters are usually those people who really know about the innovation or has interest in the product. Okay? Young people, okay, who are and social media celebrities, okay, they like this kind of thing. So they will be waiting for any innovation. Anything new comes out, they will do it. Okay, so they are the early adopters. And from these early adopters, okay, sometimes there will be opinion leaders. Okay, so these opinion leaders can learn from the early adopters, and then they try the innovation themselves. Okay, so these opinion leaders, this is where your social media influencers, okay, when they start to use TikTok, okay, when they learn, okay, they see it from the early adopters, okay, they can start to promote, okay, or make the innovation become more popular. So when an opinion leader finds the innovation useful, they encourage their friends, okay, and their followers to also what we call it, adopt the particular innovation. Alright, so when celebrities, okay, started to share their TikTok videos, okay, and they start to change the opinion of their followers. Can you understand? And finally, when most people, okay, when majority have used the TikTok, there will still be a group of people who are what we call it, late adopters, okay? So these people are what we call the laggards. Okay, who are the laggards? Maybe your grandmother, your auntie and uncles, okay, that initially say, oh, this is a silly invention, what a silly, what we call it, application. But after they've seen everyone using it, they also start to use it. So we call them laggards. So you can see, okay, there are the early adopters, the opinion leaders, and the laggards. So these are the levels of usage. Okay. So like I said, this theory is not necessarily about, okay, media use. Okay, it's a popular theory because sometimes it is used by marketer, by advertisers. Okay, when advertisers, okay, or when you have a business or a product to sell and you understand that this is how people adopt new innovations, you can use these ideas. Okay, for example, like, okay, like wearing ripped jeans, okay, baju koyak, okay. Okay, first time you've seen it somewhere and you think, oh, there's something wrong with this person wearing ripped jeans. Okay, you don't see it as stylish. But there are a group, for example, okay, very fashionable. Okay, very fashionable, what we call it, models, okay, or celebrities, okay, they are the early adopters because they know, oh, when a ripped jeans comes out from Prada or from what, Gucci, okay, it's not just a ripped jeans, it is a new style. Okay, so they are the early adopters. Okay, so early adopters, maybe some celebrity, maybe Madonna. Madonna starts to wear ripped jeans, then you see a lot of opinion leaders started to follow her. Okay, maybe local celebrities started to wear ripped jeans. And when they start to show it, okay, they use it on television and then they show it on their Instagram, then most people started to follow them. Then the adoption of that particular ripped jeans becomes larger. More people wear seluar koyak. Okay, so that is the majority. Alright, but then there will be group of laggards, okay, late adopters. Okay, probably some of the, what we call it, the Muslimah. Okay, they've seen this trend somewhere, but then they realize, I cannot wear because this is not covering my aurat. Okay, but they still want to use it. So towards the end of the trend, they say, oh, maybe we can still wear these ripped jeans. Okay, we wear some tights inside. Okay, so a small group of Muslimah, okay, are the late adopters of the trend. Can you follow? So it's very simple and very straightforward, all right? We've already discussed this, yeah? Okay. So here, okay, the strength and weaknesses, okay. I've already discussed this. Like I said, you can read them on their own, okay? So there are also a group, okay, of theory where we call them social marketing theory. Okay, so social marketing theory, okay, is an integrated collection of middle range theories dealing with the process of creating, communicating, and delivering benefits to that target audiences wants in exchange for audience behavior that benefits society without financial profit to the marketer. What does this mean? Okay, social marketing theory. Just now we talked about marketing theory. Marketing theory is really about just trying to sell products. But when we talk about social marketing theory, okay, they try to be more responsible, politically correct types of theory in which, okay, usually the marketer use, okay, a particular process, okay, to communicate messages that can still change, okay, the audience's behavior to probably from something that is negative to positive, okay, without really giving them financial profit, but most of the time give them added advantage in terms of good reputation. What does this mean? Again, like I said, okay, they are still trying to market something, maybe market a product, market a campaign, okay. But when it comes to social marketing, it's not really about profit making. It's really about trying to benefit the society as well as creating a good reputation for the company. Okay. For example, okay, public health campaign. You know, public health like stop, don't smoke, don't eat what we call it unhealthy food. So all of these usually use campaigns, okay? But these campaigns are done for social purposes. That means to benefit the community. So this is the umbrella theory, okay? It theories that says, okay, marketing should not just be about profit making. So there are other related theories, okay, smaller middle range theories, okay, that talks about social marketing. For example, elaboration likelihood theory. Okay, so what is this elaboration likelihood theory? Okay, so this theory states, okay, that the media, okay, can influence or can change the audience's mind or opinion on something, okay, depending on the kind of messages that they send. There are two types of messages, okay, and two types of ways to send message. One is through central path, and the second one is through peripheral path. Okay, here it is said, okay, that you can attract or change a person's opinion, okay, or can somewhat persuade a person using central path. That means a marketing strategy or an advertising campaign that focus on factual, okay, focus on realistics, okay, realistic components or characteristics of a particular event. Okay. On the other hand, some marketing or some advertising campaign, they use peripheral path. That means instead of focusing on the cognitive or the realities of a particular campaign, they focus on the appeal, the emotions, okay, and the, what we call it, the attractiveness of a particular thing. Okay, so what do we mean here? For example, okay, now you want to sell a car. Okay, so if you are going to sell a very expensive car, okay, like maybe Maserati, Ferrari, you know, these cars are really small but they're really fast, right? Okay, but they can only fit 2 people inside, but they can cost you $1 million. Alright, so any of you interested to buy, okay, Maserati, Ferrari, okay? Aziz, Waalaikumsalam. Do you want to buy a Ferrari, Aziz? Okay, now, when a company, you imagine a company that inshallah one day, okay, Ahmad says he wants to buy one day a Maserati. Okay, so when you see these advertisements, I'm sure you've seen it somewhere, advertisements that sells expensive sporty cars. How would they advertise these cars? Would they use the central path or would they use the peripheral path? Now, if they use the central path, they will elaborate about the car according to realities, to facts, to cognitive things. Okay, they will advertise by saying, okay, the cost of a Maserati is 1.2 million ringgit. Okay, the safety, okay, not so safe lah. Alright. Okay, but it is reliable. Okay, fuel efficiency. Will there be fuel efficiency with Ferrari? Usually no lah. Of course, you want to press that pedal. Okay. On the other hand, would they basically, okay, when you see the Ferrari posters, okay, use the peripheral path instead of focusing and say that this car costs you 1.2 million ringgit? They talk about how fast the car is, how sexy the car is. Okay, and usually they will have a sexy model near the car. Okay. Now, if you've seen, or if you can basically digest the idea, okay, a Ferrari car, when it is being marketed, okay, would it use central path or peripheral path? Which one?
Peripheral path.
Peripheral, right? Okay. Why peripheral? Because, okay, it's not something that you, that is something that, you know, what we call it, it is not a need. Right, Ferrari, okay, but it is something that can satisfy the ego. So when you want to market this kind of product, okay, how would you communicate, okay, about the product? How would you elaborate? So you can choose here or here. But most of the time, if it's something like a Ferrari, you will use peripheral path. Can you follow? Okay. But what about, okay, if you're selling what we call it, proton. Okay, you're selling what we call it, MyV. Okay, when people buy a MyV car or they buy a proton car, they hardly buy it for the sex appeal, isn't it? Okay, they buy it because it is more costly. Okay, costly pula, cost effective. Okay, they buy what we call it, Proton Saga, because, okay, it is good for short distance. You're only going to drive around Malaysia. So when Proton Saga tries to market or advertise, they will usually use central path. Can you follow? So later on, probably you can do a research on how advertisers use this theory. You can compare how advertisers, okay, which type of advertisers would use central path and which type of advertisers would use peripheral path. Can? Okay, what if you want to do a non-smoking campaign? Which path would you use? Non-smoking campaign.
Central path.
Central path, right? Okay, so you're going to tell them, okay, how wasteful it is to smoke. Alright, it's hard to make not smoking sexy. It's easy to make smoking sexy, right? Okay, so you have to take the central path. Okay, but of course this is not black or white. It's really how you are able to understand, okay, the particular product and match it with your target audience. So far can follow? Elaboration likelihood, okay? You elaborate based on the likelihood of the product, okay? And another example of a theory of a social marketing theory is narrative persuasion theory. That means you persuade the audiences, okay? You persuade your customers or consumers by providing a narrative. That means provide story. Okay? So here, okay? This is a true story about Christine, okay, who at 55, okay, was diagnosed with cancer. Oh, she was diagnosed with cancer at 44. Okay, so this is how her face looked like now. All right, so she lost part of her face to cancer. So what is the narrative that is being shared in this campaign? So it is stated here, Christine ate healthy food. She exercised, she felt healthy, so she didn't think the amount she smoked would hurt her. Okay, but at 44, she was diagnosed with oral cancer, you know, mouth area. And it came back twice. Now she has no teeth and only half of her jaw. So you can have a campaign that just says stop smoking. Or you have, you know, when you buy, okay, what is the photo that you always see on the smoke, in the cigarette package? What kind of photos do you see on the cigarette package?
Cancer, heart cancer, mouth cancer, lung
Yeah.
cancer.
Okay, that's what you see when you buy the cigarette, Ahmad.
No. I saw from the shop. Allah.
Oh, okay, nasib baik you didn't buy, okay? Okay. You have the Egyptian Ahmad and the Malay Ahmad, both don't buy the cigarette, But you can have that kind, right? You just put a photo there. But most people, I guess it's not effective, okay? They smoke, they see the image, no issues, okay? So maybe you can use this narrative persuasion. Instead of just putting the particular image, you must tell the story. Provide the context. Can you follow? So this is an example of how, okay, advertisers, okay, or how maybe a community group uses narrative, that means uses stories to persuade people. Okay, so are you persuaded? Okay, who's smokers here? Anybody smoking here? Are you persuaded? Usually not that easy. Okay. So do you see this being used in other kind of examples, okay, in other kind of advertising or marketing campaign? Now they use it for cheap campaign, like all those local products. Okay, they make funny stories lah, they make stories with regard to wearing a particular product, okay. This is when they talk about, what is that?
Whitening product.
Pardon? Yes, whitening product.
Whitening product.
Okay, or
testimony.
Okay, I was very, what we call it, I was overweight lah, my life was blah blah blah, and everything changed after I took this kerengga drink. Okay, so this is what happens. They provide a story. That means it allows you, it gives information for you to give as if you see the context of the product. Okay, so these two you can use it later on. Maybe if you want to do your FYP, okay, you can choose several what we call it, advertising or campaign posters, and you can analyze using this theory. Okay? Or then there's this theory of hierarchy of effects. That means, okay, this theory says if you want to convince, okay, audiences or the public, okay, there is the 3 levels. First, you must make the audiences think, then you make them feel, then only they will take the action. Okay, that means you provide the awareness knowledge first. Okay, like when the movies, okay, they have a new movie coming out, they provide you with teasers, right? Then these teasers will give you information, or there's a new movie coming out, okay? And they will think about the movie. And later on, they provide you with trailers, with interviews, okay? There are 4 or 5 trailers. And now you don't only know about the particular film, you can create some kind of a preference or a liking. So when you have managed, okay, to create this, okay, a positive view and a positive feel for a particular product, then you can influence people to take action. Go to the movies and watch the movies. Okay, so here basically it's talking about the hierarchy. When you want to persuade or you want to market a product, you must first, okay, trigger the cognitive part first. Okay, when people think about it, okay, you must also give more information so that people can start to decide on whether they like or do not like a particular product before they will actually buy the product. Okay. Alright. So all this, alright, why do people use social marketing theory? Okay, I hope you understand, right? We talked about 3 models just now, okay? We talk about elaboration likelihood, we talk about narrative persuasion, and hierarchy of effects. But these 3 theories are actually part of a bigger theory what we call as social marketing. Okay, so social marketing, like I mentioned just now, it's not really just about trying to direct sell of a particular product. Okay, it is really trying to show, okay, it is also trying to, what we call it, infuse some kind of benefit to society. All right. So, okay, the feature is, okay, it induce audience awareness of campaign topics. Later on, if you are PR student, for example, and usually when you do internship, later on, you will have to do some kind of campaign. So these are the theories that you can use, okay, where you can induce audience awareness. What do we mean induce? That means you slowly create some kind of awareness, okay, that people know about whatever campaign you are doing. Okay? And it allows you to target messages at specific audience segments. Okay? Like here, when we talk about non-smoking campaigns, okay, it has to depend on who you are targeting. Okay? Maybe if you are targeting middle-aged female smokers, then you can use this kind of campaign. Campaign. Okay? But if you are going to target young male teenage smokers, probably this will not work at all. Okay, so it allows you to identify. Okay, so it also tells you to reinforce messages within targeted segments and encourage these people to influence others. Okay, and they cultivate impressions of people, products, services. Okay, and it induces desired decision making or positioning. Okay, but point is here, it is telling you that through using this theory, it tells you how to create awareness. That means it allows you to use a step-by-step process in campaigns especially. Okay, and it allows you to target your, what we call it, audiences. Okay, can understand so far? Alright. So that is one aspect of theory. Okay, you have social marketing theory. Okay, and then there's another theory. Okay, media system dependency theory. So this theory says that the more a person depends on having needs gratified by media use, the more important the media's role will be in the person's life, and therefore the more influence those media will have. Okay, it talks about here, okay, media dependency. How much do one person depends on the media? Okay, it depends on how much we are gratified by our media use. Remember, we already used the theory, media uses and gratification. Okay, so here, okay, to know, okay, depends, okay, how a person depends on a particular media, okay, depends on how much they use the media. And it also depends on the person's, okay, society, the person or the society's level of dependency. For example, okay, media influence lies in the relationship between larger social system, the media's role in that system, and the audience relationship to the media. Now, okay, for example, a mother. You can have a young mother, okay, with one child living in Singapore, okay, in comparison to a young mother that lives in, for example, Namibia, then has 5 children. Okay. Now, so you have this young mother in Namibia and you have this young mother in Singapore. Which one of these 2 examples, okay, which one, the Singaporean mom or the Namibian mom, will be more dependent on the media, you think?
Singaporean.
Obviously, the
Singapore.
Singaporean. Why? Although she only has 1 kid and this other mom has 5 kids. Because of the society that she lives in. Okay, for example, that Singaporean mom, okay, when she wants to send the kid to school, okay, she needs to, for example, use an app, okay, or she uses Grab to send her kids to school. Okay, and because Singapore is, for example, very technologically oriented, very fast-paced, and that she is also working, she cannot cook, so she needs the app to buy food for her child. On the other hand, you have this Namibian mom who has 5 children, okay? But she doesn't need the technology. Why? Because the society that she lives in doesn't require her to be so dependent. Why? She doesn't need to order food. She can cook because she's not working. Can you understand? She doesn't need to go pick her children up in school every morning because her children are so used to walking to school on their own. Okay, so according to this theory, how dependent we are on the media is not really just because it's not an automatic relationship. It depends, okay, on a larger social system. Can you follow? All right. That probably now, okay, as a student, you are more dependent on the media, on the medium, on the technology than you were, okay, 6 months ago, than you were last year, because 2020 has pushed you to become more technologically dependent. Online class, online exam, online quiz. Can you follow? And because of this push, that's why some of the students, for example, in Sabah had to go climb up the tree to get the connection. Because the social system has pushed her and pushed all of you to become more dependent on the media. Okay? Can you follow? And it depends on the number and centrality of the specific information delivery functions served by a medium. Okay, like the Namibian mom and her children, the schools are probably still very face to face. Okay, but when you go to a Singaporean school, a modern school, probably, okay, 50% of the what we call it curriculum is done online. Okay, and then the theory also says that people become more dependent on the media, okay, when there is change and conflict that is present in the society. Okay, if there is conflict, okay, there is some political or economic problem in a particular society, people will become more dependent on the media. Can you see this logic? That if something is happening, a change, for example, okay, COVID-19, suddenly all of us are quarantined. All right, did you become more dependent on the media? Yes, because you become more what we call it interested to know about what is going on and how this thing is going to affect you, because you are thirsty for information during a time of conflict, during a time of uncertainty. You become what? Thirsty for information, and then you become more dependent on the media. Can you follow? So this theory is just telling us that a person becomes more dependent on a particular media. Okay, they are more media dependent when their life, okay, everything around them, okay, is pushing them to be more gratified by media use. Okay, so it depends on the relationship within the larger social system. It depends on the centrality of media within that society, as well as the degree of change on conflict in the society. Okay? So here, okay? So how dependent, okay, is a person, okay, how dependent is a society on the media? It depends on the society and it depends on the media. Okay, it's not the media alone. Okay, because you have a society, okay, like in Singapore, okay, a very technologically closed society, okay, where everything can very dependent on the media. Okay, so then you have a very dependent society. that this media will affect the way they think, affect the way they behave, and affect the way they feel. That means you have a Singaporean mom, like I said just now. A Singaporean mom would probably go crazy if she doesn't have a smartphone. Okay, why will she go crazy? Because her life is confined to the technology. Okay, living in for example, a small flat. Okay, there's nowhere to go, so she needs, okay, the social media to make her feel happy. Okay, she needs all the information she can get from the media. Can you follow? Because the society itself is very dependent on the media. On the other hand, you have the young mom in Namibia, like I've mentioned just now. Okay, her society is more open, more dispersed. Okay, you can say probably not technologically developed, but because it is not technologically developed, the media is not so central. So this mom is not dependent on the media. Can you follow? She is still happy not having a smartphone, maybe because she is happy running around in her farm, for example, milking the cows. She is happy that way. Why? Because the society, okay, is different, and also the media is not central. Can you follow? Right? So again, okay, so this theory is very straightforward, right? So another theory, okay, when we talk about the influence of media on society is the knowledge gap theory. Okay, what is this knowledge gap theory? So this knowledge gap says, okay, there is a systematic differences in knowledge between better informed and less informed segments of the population. So it is said knowledge comes from the media, right? Okay, information comes from the media. Okay, people, okay, in a particular society, all right, those who have more access to information will become more privileged. Okay, knowledge between better informed and less informed. For example, will there be a difference between those who have a diploma and those who have a degree? Will there be a difference, you think? Yes. If not, why you want to go for your degree? Because there is a ceiling to what diploma holders can achieve in terms of professional, professional development. Okay? Because in the professional world, in the working world, they have set a certain standards. Diploma holders can only do this kind of function. Okay, degree holders will get this kind of work. Okay, starting salary. Diploma holders starting the salary will only be 1,200. Okay, degree holders will get 2,500 starting salary. What is the difference? Because the difference is attributed to the knowledge gap. Can you understand? Okay, so who's knowledgeable? People who have more access to the media. Can you follow? More information. You imagine, okay, a house with television and a house without television. Which household will get more information? Okay, the household with television.
Vision.
Yes, all right. Okay, can you understand knowledge gap? Okay, so this knowledge gap is quite an old theory. Okay, this is a theory that they use to explain, especially with the coming of television. Right? Because you imagine, okay, you have to bring yourself back to a time, okay, when the television was first introduced. Those people who has the TV box, they get to watch the news, they get to watch all those entertainment programs, and they get direct information. Can you follow? Okay, this is not reading book, you know. This is just watching TV, and imagine the amount of information that a person gets. in comparison to that person who has no television. Okay, so those people who have better informed, can make better decisions. Like for example, deciding during an election. Okay, who do you vote for to become your prime minister or to become your government? Okay, you get the information from the media. If you've been living in a room without any information, you go out to vote, who do you vote for? You don't know, so you cannot make the right decisions. Okay, so this knowledge gap theory is closely linked to the digital divide theory. Have you heard of digital divide? Okay, so digital divide or digital gap. Okay, just now we say those who has more information have better privilege, right? But now with the digital media, it is those people who has better access to digital technology that has better privilege. Can you understand? Okay. The lack of access to communication technology among people of color, the poor, the disabled, and those in rural communities. Okay. Those who have technology will become more privileged over those who do not have the technology. You can see this in comparison macro. Okay, you have a very developed country. Okay, we talk about Singapore just now, and then you have the Namibia. Okay, I'm not saying the Singaporean is a happier mom. No, but okay, would she be more privileged? Can she have a better life materially? Yes, definitely. Can you understand? Okay, the boy with the laptop and the boy with no laptop. And we can see this divide very much today when schools are supposed to be done online at home. Okay, you imagine an urban family, okay, with 2 children, each children have a phone. So can they go on the online school? Yes. But you imagine a rural family with 4 children, but only the father has the mobile phone. Okay, how can these 4 children continue with their education? So there is a large digital divide. Can you follow or not? That means the changes, okay, the discrepancies, okay, in terms of knowledge, in terms of wealth, are actually dependent on the digital medium or digital technology that they have. Can you understand the concept of digital divide? You know, it could be macro, you know, you can compare between developed countries and underdeveloped countries. Or you can compare with your own life experiences. Okay, you may be using, okay, a Nokia 3310, no data. Okay, but most students have data lah. But imagine you have the cheapest phone. Okay, and your data is very small, very slow. Okay, and then you compare to your roommate who's a rich roommate that has iPhone number 15, iPhone 12, iPhone 11. Okay, and he has limited data package. Can you compare your life with that person's life? Would she be more materially, privileged? Yes, wouldn't she? Because she can get access to more information. Okay, she can do her assignments on her phone. She can do her video assignment, create her video on her phone. Can you do that in your cheap and limited data phone? Cannot. So there is already a divide. Okay, you may be the more hardworking one, the smarter one, but you do not have access to the technology. Okay, so when your lecturer asks you, okay, do a video assignment, I want it tomorrow. So your privileged friend, okay, can easily just do it on her iPhone. You need to scramble to find a particular laptop or a particular app that can help you do the particular video. Okay, can understand digital divide? All right. So here, if you want to see, okay, what we call it from a macro perspective, okay. that out of the total population in the world, all right, only 56% of the world population is living in urban areas. That means you still have 44% of the world population that's still living in rural and lack of access areas. Okay, and then when we talk about the usage of mobile phones, some of you have 3 phones. All right, you change your phones every year. But there are still 34% of the world population with people with no phone at all. Okay, can you imagine your life not having at all mobile phone? Okay, and internet penetration is only 58%. That means 42% of the world population still do not have access to the internet. So while you're TikToking away, okay, there is still billions of people who have never seen Facebook. Okay, and 45% social media users. Okay, so here, while these statistics focuses on the usage, it also tells us, okay, the other part of the story is that there is a divide. There is between those who have access to technology and those that do not have. And this relate to this older theory that when there is a divide in the access, there is also a gap in the knowledge. Can you follow or not? Right? So will there be a gap in terms of age, gender, language? Yes, between young people and old people. Okay, so your grandfather is usually asking you, please help how to do this. Do not know how to access the message. Do not know how to forward the message. Okay, there is a gap of knowledge between the young and the old. Gender, definitely. Okay, not probably in this part of the world. Okay, but in other parts of the world, okay, the women are still having lack of access to mobile technology. Okay, here, all right. When we talk about 60% of the world's population is still offline, okay, but those who are offline are all mostly in developing economies. Okay, this is telling us, okay, for example here, 80% of people in advanced economies. That means 80% of those people in the US, in Singapore, in the UK, in Europe, 80% of people are having internet access. Okay. But here, 69% of people who are living in developing countries, okay, in Asia, okay, in Africa, they do not have access. So what happens? So these people in these advanced economies, they will continue to go develop faster and faster. They're talking about 5G, 5.5G. They're talking about artificial intelligence, okay? They're using robots, okay? They're using self-driving cars, okay? They got 3D printing. So they're moving really, really fast. On the other hand, what happens to the 69% of people who does not have access? Don't talk about 3D printing. Even printer also they don't have. So that means what? Then the gap, the divide will become bigger and bigger. Can you follow so far? Digital divide? Okay? Can understand?
Yes, madam.
Yes, madam.
All right, very simple, right? The logic. Okay, so you can use this theory later on if you want to do a research. Okay, to look at the discrepancies between those who have technology and those that do not have technology. Okay, and then when we talk about technology, okay, there is also the relationship, okay, between those who have the technology, they can control and they can become the status quo. How? For example, the language on the internet. What language do people use?
English.
English, obviously, right? Almost all the world's population are on Facebook, but the main language is English. But is English the most spoken language in the world? No. The most spoken language in the world is not Chinese, okay? This is very, what we call it, basic statement. There is no one Chinese language or one Indian language. Okay?
Mandarin, right?
Is Mandarin. Okay? Mandarin, okay, is the most spoken language in the world. Okay? But you can see the percentage of Mandarin being used on the internet is only 1.8%. That means all those Mandarin speakers, they have no choice but must learn English. Must be able to understand English to use this technology. Can you follow so far? All right. So that is why young children in Malaysia who lives in Kelantan, who lives in a rural area, okay, I'm not saying Kelantan is rural, okay, I'm just saying in general, okay, they may have parents that do not speak English, but they can speak English as long as they have the technology. So those children that has the technology, they have the ability to master the English language better than those that do not have. Understand? Okay, you understand all this relationship, why I'm talking about language? We're talking about the divide. Okay, because this technology is being developed and also being used mostly by the developed countries. So as a result, most of the content not only use their language, but use everything that is more biased towards them. Can you follow? All right. So this has created a kind of biasness. Digital divide. Okay. All right, I hope you don't mind. I'm going really fast because we don't really have much time. But I think it should be okay because I'm just introducing you to the different types of theories, okay? Examples of theories. Okay, so we have another theory called cultivation theory. We still have so many or not so many, okay? Cultivation theory. This is also one of the oldest theory, but still very popular theory. Okay? Now, have you experienced this before? All right? That your mother blames everything on the media. Okay? So here they say, or the mother say, if you keep watching that violence, your head is going to explode. Okay? Splatter your mushy brains all over my nice clean carpet. So the mother is angry at this boy for watching a lot of violent or playing violent games. Okay? But what does the boy say about this violence that he's watching? What does he say? Does he find any problem with the violence he's watching on TV? No. He says it is cool. Okay? Now, isn't that how you feel when you play the game? Okay, most of the computer games that you watch or you play is all about murdering somebody, right? Killing somebody. The more you kill, the better. Okay? It is cool to kill somebody in the games. Okay? Now, this happens to my children also. Okay? He likes to use the word, kill. Okay? So what is the point here? The point here, it says that the media, especially television, cultivates. What do we mean by cultivate? Cultivate, that means slowly, okay? Not abruptly, but slowly, okay, creating or designing the person's perception. Okay? So here, violence is sometimes, okay, the media is usually blamed for violence. Why? Because the media usually romanticize violence. Okay, how does the media romanticize violence? Okay, just now we talked about the games, right? You get what we call it, the more you kill someone, okay, the more marks you get, the more points you get. But at the same time, when you're watching, okay, all this action film, okay, and then you see all these big bulky guys, okay, one guy can fight 10 people. And what is your opinion of that? Okay, when you're watching, it looks cool. Okay, it's cool, okay, with all the sound effects. Okay, I don't know, like, I cannot make the sound effects, okay? But the fighting scene is cool. And why do you go watch, what we call it, action movie? You don't like to watch action movie on television. You want to go watch it in the cinema. Why? Because of the sound effects, right? When they fight and when they're kicking, and then the blood will go splitting all over the screen. It makes what? It makes violence appear cool. Can you follow or not? Okay, that usually the hero will be what? Will be very strong and can kill people. Okay? So this is the theory. The theory says, okay, the media actually influences our opinion, okay, because it uses cultivation slowly but surely. If you've been watching, okay, or playing games since you were 7 years old, okay, by the time you are 27, violence no longer appear to be violent. Can you follow? Because it has become very normal. Yeah. So this theory was introduced by George Gerbner. Okay. So it's an old theory like I've mentioned before because it started out by studying television. So this theory suggests that television, he focused on television, but of course this theory can be used on other media as well. Okay. That television cultivates or creates a worldview that although possibly inaccurate, but becomes the reality because people believe it to be so. Okay? Gender. Man has to be strong, has to be masculine. Okay? That a successful man. How do you measure a successful man? By having a pretty girlfriend or a big car. Where do we get all these ideas? Okay? The world that we live in does not always show us that. Okay, but we believe, okay, that man has to be masculine. Okay, and the woman must be very feminine, very pretty, very slender, very white. All this idea we get through television and the media that we consume. Okay? Like our interpretation of beauty. Alright? What is beautiful? Okay? I've asked this class before, isn't it? Right? Isn't it? Have I class? Okay, Ahmad Sisoho. Can you give me, okay, an example of an actress that you think is very beautiful?
Actress.
Who's beautiful?
Mira Filza.
Mira Filza. Okay. Okay, Ahmad, we have the Egyptian guy.
Yes, madam.
Okay, who do you think is quite, good looking?
That's a difficult question. Maybe Angelina Jolie.
Ooh, okay, look at this Arab guy. Angelina Jolie. Okay, what about Aziz? Aziz, are you there? Okay, we have another from another view. Who do you think is very pretty?
Yes, madam. Sorry, I cannot hear you clearly.
Okay,
Sorry.
you can type. Do you have any example of an actress or someone who's very pretty that you think is pretty?
Actually, I have from Vietnam only, madam.
Pardon?
From Vietnam only.
Provik Nauling?
From my countries only.
Okay, what's her name?
Her name is Katie Nguyen.
Katie Mui.
Yeah.
Can you type?
I don't know how to describe.
Well, I want to see how she looks like. Katie.
Yes.
I don't find any Katie Mui lah. How to spell? Come on, show me a picture or something, okay? Alright, never mind lah. But point is what, okay? You have Mira Filza, you have Angelina Jolie, and you have Katie Mui. I'm not sure how she looks like, but I'm pretty sure she's fair and white.
Yes.
And she
Sure.
has long hair.
Yeah.
And she's very slim.
Quite thin.
And her eyes is quite big.
Not really.
But in comparison to Vietnamese eyes, big lah kan?
Yes, yes.
Yes. So this is
Mashallah.
my point. MashaAllah, how do I know how a person looks like? Because this is what most of us are cultivated into. That our understanding of how a woman looks like and how a pretty woman looks like is always the same. They are always fair, slim, long hair, very feminine, okay, big eyes, because this is what we see in the media. Okay, whether you are in India or in Africa, where most people are dark-skinned, it is always the comparatively fairer skinned will be considered the prettier ones. Okay, or even with the Malay girls, right? Okay, most of us are brown, not all of us are fair. But when we look at when we watch movies or when we watch television, okay, the heroine, the Malay actress would be the fair ones. The fair ones will get the lead role. The fair ones will marry the handsome hero. The fair ones will marry the rich man. So we get this idea. So the man would want the fair ladies, and the girls would want to become fairer. This is what? Cultivation. Because you did not see these images once. You see it every time. You see it in the local media, you see it in the Western media. You see it on television, you see it on in the cinemas, you see it on the magazines. Can you understand? Cultivation. Okay? Or the same thing with ethnicity. Okay? We are cultivated into thinking that the white people are the better group. Okay? We are cultivated into thinking, okay, that the black people, for example, is the problematic group. Can you understand? Okay? So this, okay, you can try to apply this logic to, politics, okay, or when we talk about children, okay, or when you talk about sex, because television and media today likes to normalize, okay, and like to portray sex in terms of romanticizing sex. Okay? They don't talk about the repercussion of having sex. Okay? They don't talk about, okay, you don't see movies, okay, that discuss a lot about the negative, result of teen pregnancy. Okay? They don't discuss a lot about movies about teenage abortion. Can you understand what I'm saying? Okay, we are only cultivated to see one aspect of sex, but we don't talk about the other aspects, a more reality-based. Okay, understand? Right? So like here, okay, there is a violence index. Okay, sometimes, okay, they use a long-term study to look at the impact of violence, because media is always considered as promoting violence, especially children. Okay? For example, this one, okay, when we talk about violence, it's not just in terms of movies or video games. It can be in the news. Okay, news, the more violence, okay, violent crime will get more highlights. Like this one, okay, the mother is so scared, okay, thinking that the child is watching violent adult-only video games. But instead, he is actually watching what? Oh, latest news from Iraq. So violence are all over. Okay? So like, who are all these young boys? Do you know who are these young boys?
School shooters, I think.
Okay, they look like a teenage hero in the teenage drama that you watch on Netflix. Okay, maybe except for this one. Okay? So all of these who are they? They are all teenage boys, okay, who are mass shooters. Okay, so this one, Virginia Tech, this one, I can't remember, okay, but all of them, okay, have been detained, okay, most of them have killed themselves, including this one and this one, because they shot, okay, their schoolmates and university mates. Why did they become very violent? Many people attribute this to their, what we call it, obsession with video games. Can you follow?
Madam, like, for me, this topic always is a topic of debate for me, because this is like this is an only American phenomenon. Like this doesn't happen anywhere else around the world. Like it's because of their extreme allowance of gun ownership, and maybe the state that these boys are in, maybe they do fantasize about it, or they idealize it or whatever, and then the availability of the guns will make them able to go and do something like that. But let's say like in a country like South Korea, where it's the biggest country in the world when it comes to gaming, we never hear about things like that there, because they just simply do not have the access to the guns. I think like it's true that the gaming does have like violent games probably do have an effect. I just believe that it's the fact that the guns are so available in Western countries like those, that's what pushes them to happen. But in other countries around the world, like me and my friends have been playing games since we were children, and we never even think about this.
Okay, very good observation, Ahmad. Very good. Yes, of course. All right. It's never one thing. Okay, because we talk about the theory of media dependency just now. Remember, it's not always just about the media. It's also part of the society, okay, of the social, what we call it, environment that you live in. Of course, this is a theory that talks about, okay, mostly very Western oriented, yes, okay, and we are talking about the American, especially all of these cases, okay, because the American society is very media saturated, okay, compared to other societies. And also, yes, okay, the availability of guns, okay, the gun possessing laws, it's so easy for them to access guns. Yes, that is one good, what we call it, explanation as well. So this theory is looking only at the media aspect. Of course, okay, it's not going to create a direct causal relationship saying that all of this mass shooting is only the fault of the media. But it is saying it's also partly the fault of the media, because the media cultivates this feeling of violence. Probably here in Malaysia or in our part of the world, okay, we don't go shoot other people, but we are also already have this tendency for violence. Okay, that young children exposed to television or games, okay, through long periods of times will have a different attitude towards violence. Probably, okay, you can compare those who play the violent games and those who do not play the games. Those who play the game will beat their little brother more compared to those that do not play the games. Probably. So this is what the theory is trying to address. Can you follow? Okay. So cultivation here is not just necessarily about violence. Okay. I gave you all these other examples as well. But the most popular strand of what we call it research that's been done using this theory is to test the media violence. Can you follow? All right. Okay, so at least even though here in Malaysia, for example, we don't go shoot other people, but okay, slowly probably in our young teenage boys, they start to think that violence is sexy, that violence is cool. Okay, that they get into school fights, trying to fight like they watch whatever Malay film that they watch. Okay, all right. So here, never mind, all right. Here they talk about the different types of theories that they use, okay. So how do they use cultivation analysis, okay? They usually do long-term studies, okay. Now, okay, I need to go fast, all right. You can read this, okay, the different, what we call it, the process of cultivation, okay. So, how do they cultivate violence? How do they cultivate sex, for example? How do they cultivate the what we call image of beauty? It is through mainstreaming. They make it mainstream. They make it normalized, basically making it status quo. Okay? Why is it blue eyes, white, blonde is the interpretation of beauty? Because it's mainstream. You see it everywhere. You see it on television, you see it in the advertisements. And what happens? You have the Malay girls, you have the Arab girls that try to imitate, okay, They try to have the long hair, they color their hair blonde. Okay? They try to make themselves fair. So it's via mainstreaming. Okay? And when it becomes mainstream, okay, people start to resonate, okay, to start to feel that, you know, feel familiar, okay, with all these values, okay. And usually cultivation effects, you have the first order and the second order, okay. The first order, okay, it depends on, okay, the amount of times that when you are exposed to a particular image or a particular message, okay, you become somewhat you accept, all right, but you don't really what we call it, change your attitude yet, okay. It is just, okay, the first order cultivation effects is that you start to consume without really rejecting, okay, the particular message. It is the second order cultivation effects that is more prominent, which is when you start to change your attitude and change your beliefs, okay, to support or to follow whatever message that is being presented in the media. Alright, okay. So lastly, media literacy. Okay, so this is just saying, okay, this theory is just saying that all of these things we said just now, alright, okay, cultivation, media intrusion, okay, that media effects on society can be controlled, okay, can be what is managed if people are given media literacy. Okay, the ability to access, analyze, evaluate, and act according to the messages you get to the media. Okay, can you follow? Here, the term is very simple, media literacy. That there is the need for people to be literate. Okay, they need to learn how to use the media. Okay, media literacy. Okay, a media literate mother compared to a media illiterate mother. What do we mean by a media literate mother? Both moms offer phones to their children. Okay, both mothers allow their children to watch YouTube. But a media literate mother would know, okay, which channels their children can watch. She would know what kind of limit to impose on her children. Media literate. She knows, okay, what kind of program is okay and not okay. On the other hand, a media illiterate mother would not know. She would just give the pad, okay, the tablet to her children, and just leave it to them. Okay? So media literacy is very important, okay, especially you as well as young media users, okay, to understand, okay, there is a need to control media usage. All right. Okay. So I hope that is okay, all right, just different types, different examples of theories that you can later on use in your research work. Okay? So is there any questions before I discuss our final exam? Any questions?
Question,
Oh,
Doctor.
good, man.
Yes.
In media system dependency theory,
Yes.
so it means when people they have relationship and that relationship with the society depends on the media, so it can create the centrality of media. Is it correct?
Yes.
I just want to clarify.
Oh yes, very good. Yeah, it's true. Okay, so but in media system dependency theory, okay, the main point is trying to say that one person or that media dependence is not just, okay, attributed to the media. It's really attributed to other aspects. For example, the society that a person lives in. Okay, the centrality of technology in that society. Okay, all right. Any other questions? Okay, never mind. You can always ask questions if later on you're studying and then you have a question, you can ask via WhatsApp group. Okay, you can text, you can ask later. All right. So I just want to discuss with you about our final exam. Okay, so where is it? Can you see it? Is it there? I'm sharing you the question paper.
I didn't see, madam.
You see?
I didn't see.
Yes, madam.
Too bad those who's not here cannot see the questions already. So your exam will be on Sunday, yeah? How fun. Okay? Sunday, August 16th. So it would be 6 hours. Okay, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. So I think you are already aware that all online exam will be via iTalim. Alright, so you would be able to access the question papers at 9 a.m. Alright, 6 hours is definitely more than enough. Okay, because there will only be 3 questions. Okay, 3 questions, all of it we've already discussed in class. Okay, the notes are available to you. But of course, this is an open book exam. The questions will be application questions. Okay, you will need to think about how to explain the answers. All right. I will not tell you which chapter it will be based from because that would be too easy. All right, because you've got open book. So it's a challenge for you to know which topic this question comes from. All right. So I would suggest that you start right away. Okay, and I think the latest by 12 you should be able to finish already. Okay, and especially if you have another paper in the afternoon. Okay, so just get it done, submit. Don't waste your time because we probably have a lot of technical problem. All right, so try to submit just by 2 p.m. Okay, don't worry about technical issues or technical problems. If something happens at that day, we will solve it then. Okay, I will be available. All right. So these are the instructions. There are many instructions here. Okay, so you follow this format. Maximum 8 pages. Right? 1.5. Okay, and also times New Roman. Roman, not Roman. Romance pula. Okay. So here you don't need, for my paper, no need to list down the references. Some other papers would require you to list down the references. Okay, this paper no need. Okay, so there's no problem for you to finish early. Okay. The question's not here. Alright, so the questions will be 12, 14, 14. So you can imagine like for 12 marks, there at least must be 6 points. Okay, 14 marks, around 7 points. Okay, that means 2 marks each. And you must obviously elaborate and give examples for your answers, okay? So you will have to write your answers here. And you will submit it back in iTalim. You download the questions and the answer sheet, you type it out, and then you upload it again. All right? Please always write here question number 1, number 2, number 3, and tell me how many number of pages you use. Please fill in this. All right? Exam venue, no need to fill in, okay? And then you have to sign this. Don't forget to sign this. Okay? This is the academic integrity form. Okay, because alright, you must be what we call it, honest. Alright, it's already an open book. Okay, don't copy paste. Okay, try to at least paraphrase. Okay, if you found the answer somewhere. Okay. Alright, so basically that's just it. I just want to familiarize you, okay, with the question, the way the exam will be handled. Okay. So if some of you have never been on iTalim, it's time for you to do so. Okay. Please, no copy paste. Do not copy paste. That is the most dangerous thing to do. Okay, because once it's discovered that you took the answer, okay, from some other source, okay, you did not even paraphrase or did not write it on your own, okay, then you will be in big trouble. Okay? Yes.
Madam, for the questions, what type of questions will be in the exam?
It would be long essay. I would ask you something. It would usually, you need to find it, okay, what we call it, what are the components of the theories before you studied, and then you need to elaborate based on your understanding and your examples.
So,
No, doesn't.
oh, go ahead. Okay. So the questions, like you said, madam, are going to be divided 12, 12, 8, right?
14, 12.
14, 12. What?
Sorry, tapi nak masuk lagi lah.
Let me
Four-
see.
12, 14, 14.
12, 14, 14.
Oh, 14, 14. Sorry. Okay. So for questions that are 12, what's to be expected? For questions that are 14, what's to be expected?
You will see that they're all just the same. I mean,
Okay.
not two questions, it's the same type of questions. Only 12, 14, 14 just because I need to make it 40 marks.
Yes. I mean, as in like, what would be a model answer, I guess.
A model answer would be, okay, if it's 6, you find that it's 6 points that you want to discuss, you put it in 6 paragraphs. Okay, and each paragraph's your answer, okay, how you define the things, your elaboration and examples.
Mhm. So definition, elaboration, example.
Yes.
All right.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. All right. So, okay, this is the last class. Okay, like I said, good luck with your finals. Okay, try to do your best. It's an open book. Nobody should fear. Okay. Any questions last round? Okay, so if there are no questions for now, okay, I would like to thank you for this very challenging year and challenging semester you've been through, and I congratulate you for coming to class. Thank you for switching on your videos. I can finally see some of your faces because honestly, I have forgotten. Okay? All right, yes, very nice. See, very good looking and pretty.
Thank you, madam.
All right, okay.
Sorry,
you, madam.
madam. Tengah makan.
Right.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, so please, alright, just try your best. Okay, your time is done. I just need you to fill in your marks for quiz number 2. I hope you understood
Okay.
what you have learned. What is most important is to understand that how to use theory in research, and that scientific theories is not like your everyday theory. Okay. So good luck to you. Most of you will be doing your FYP after this. Then you would know how important theory is. Okay?
Inshallah.
All right. So thank you. And I apologize if I've made some mistakes, okay? Or if I've accidentally hurt your feelings with my stupid jokes. Okay?
Madam.
All right. Okay.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, madam. Thank you,
We're going to
madam.
miss you.
Assalamualaikum.
Thank you, madam.
Assalamualaikum, madam.
Thank you, madam. Assalamualaikum.
Salam.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, madam.